Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee officially ended after this happened.
So you owe us everything. So it's unfortunate when it's a friend and they decide to go for the money.
Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We are coming out with new content all the time. We love having you all here and want you to keep coming back in the future. Few comedians on earth have seen the level of success as the great Jerry Seinfeld. He started off as a stand-up comedian who found fame after his 1981 appearance on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show. From there, he starred in one of the most famous sitcoms to ever be shown on television, Seinfeld. It aired for 9 seasons before coming to a close. Since then, he has continued with his original love of stand-up comedy while making various cameos and doing voiceover work from time to time.
So they didn't cancel you. You canceled them. No, I'm asking you.
You think I got canceled? Are you under the impression that I got canceled?
Have I hurt you, Jerry?
Background. In 2012, Seinfeld took his comedic and creative genius to the next level by creating a show called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Originally, it aired on the streaming network Crackle. The show really took off in 2018 when it was picked up by Netflix. As all good things do, though, it came to an end. The premise of Jerry Seinfeld's series was actually quite simple. It was an unscripted conversation between Jerry and a guest as he drove around, eventually stopping for a bite to eat and a cup of coffee. Not only did each episode feature a different guest, the episode saw Seinfeld driving different vehicles, often unique and rare models. For example, in Season 2, Episode 6 saw Jerry driving around Chris Rock in a 1969 Lamborghini Miura P400S. But in Season 3, the second episode featured Jerry driving around Patton Oswalt in a 1981 DMC DeLorean. You never know what you were going to get from episode to episode. When it comes to television series, shows usually get canceled or taken off the air when ratings start going down or when the show has lost its steam. But Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee was still very popular among viewers, not waning in viewers or ratings. So why did it come to a seemingly abrupt end? To really understand this answer, it is necessary to take a look at exactly what made the series so successful.
Do you like your kids?
What?
I'm always looking for someone to admit they regret having children.
The series was a different take on celebrity interviews. Late-night talk shows, morning shows, podcasts, radio spots. They all share pretty much the same format of interviewing guests. The person comes in, they ask and answer questions that are usually scripted ahead of time. They promote something, then they leave. Jerry Seinfeld took this concept to a totally different level, though. In this show, all of the interviews are totally unscripted. Neither the interviewer nor interviewee had any idea what would be discussed. In addition to this unorthodox format, the other amazing aspect involved the various cars that Seinfeld would drive while interviewing his guests. Before you ask, the answer is yes, Jerry Seinfeld was actually driving the cars. This added to the unique style that he was aiming for, setting his series apart from anything that came before it. It gave him the opportunity to really show off his love for cars. They became the topic of many interesting conversations. The show gave viewers a more intimate look into the lives of the guests. Celebrities spend so much time in the spotlight, so when it comes to the more intimate parts of their lives, they typically choose to remain private. This is why so many interviews on television are planned ahead of time. The questions are written and even reviewed pre-show, thus making sure there is nothing that will delve into areas that the guest doesn't want to go. But Seinfeld is a different sort of interviewer. It was a very minimalist sort of interview. There was no studio, no lights and cameras, little in the way of production, just a guy in his car. With this simple step, the interviews stopped being interviews and became casual conversations. In these moments, the guests really open up and let viewers into their lives in a more personal way than ever. One example of this would be in Season 7, Episode 4 featuring Gary Shandling. As the two drove around in a 1979 Porsche 930 Turbo, they reminisced about their lives as comedians. The two go way back together doing stand-up comedy in the same era, playing at a lot of the same venues. Their favorite place to perform was at the iconic Comedy Store where they both gained a lot of fame. Sadly, Shandling passed away only a couple of months after the airing of this episode. This is considered by all to be the best episode of the series, reflecting the deep love and respect from the two friends.
Look at what I got for you. Here's why I picked it.
Oh, the smell of this car.
Every thought just flew out of my head.
Is it safe?
No.
Netflix picked it up, giving it a boost in popularity. Before the show was picked up by Netflix, it aired on a streaming network called Crackle, which is owned by Sony. Although readily available and owned by a well-known company, it was not a very popular streaming service. But Netflix, being the streaming juggernaut that it is, purchased the rights to the series as well as the 59 previous episodes. Along with negotiating a deal for a couple of stand-up specials, Seinfeld now had a place where the show could take off, and it did just that. Within a short period of time, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee became the most streamed show on Netflix. Like we said before, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee was still at the top of its game. So why did Jerry Seinfeld simply stop making the show? The answer is actually twofold. The first and biggest reason is that he absolutely detests the idea of a successful show running to a point where it should be cancelled because of a slip in ratings. He always wants to make sure that when he finishes something, he is finishing while things are still good. For anyone who follows Jerry Seinfeld's career, this will seem like a familiar line. That's because it was the same situation with his hit show Seinfeld. In a famous interview with Larry King, Seinfeld is seemingly taken back by a suggestion from King that Seinfeld was cancelled. Jerry quickly quipped back, "You're not aware of this? You think I got cancelled? Are you under the impression I got cancelled?" He went on to remind King that at the time the show ended, Seinfeld was the #1 show on television, having 75 million viewers on the last episode alone. But what this all spells out is that Jerry knew when a show had run its course and that it was time to call it quits while everything is still good. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee was no different. In addition to this fact, Jerry was starting to become a little tired of the production process. This comes as a surprise to many because the whole process seemed to be quite simple. As we illustrated earlier, it's a very simple concept. Drive around, talk, eat, and be done. But there was actually a lot more that went into it after the shooting was over. To help put this into perspective, each episode required between 3.5 and 4 hours of raw film to produce the episodes that we see today. In total, the 3.5 to 4 hours required to film each individual episode required nearly 2 weeks of editing to complete. In an interview promoting his Netflix special 23 Hours to Kill, Seinfeld commented on any questions concerning the production of a 12th season. "We haven't planned anything with Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I feel like I did that tour. I know they look very casual and easy, but they're actually a lot of work to make. The editing is very intense, and I don't know, I feel like I may have done that exploration at this point." In the end, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee was an amazing show that displayed some amazing cars that were created by an amazing comedian. From the beginning, he knew what he wanted out of the show and knew exactly when it should end. It's pretty safe to say that this show probably would not be the same if anyone except Jerry Seinfeld were doing it. But with his level of creativity and talent, it is safe to trust his judgment on the conclusion of the show. In the meantime, we can look forward to more projects from him in the future. Thank you so much for joining us again. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, for more great content, check out our previous videos. While you're at it, click on the link in the description and grab yourself some of the crustiest merch in the world. We'll see you next time.